Colleagues, good morning. The time now is 10 o'clock. Let me welcome all of you. The committee has entered the last phase of the process.
Recording in progress.
Tomorrow we are conducting the interviews as agreed. We said 23rd and 24th of August. And we agreed that we need to meet ahead of the interviews to deal with themselves. And also take the reports that we had asked SSA, the SAPS, as well as the HR, our human resource development component in Parliament. So the three reports are available. So I've asked that the team share those three reports with the colleagues. The report by the SSA, the report by the SAPS, as well as the results of our HR division. Because we had actually asked them to screen the candidates just to do the suitability checks, confirm qualifications, and then come back and report to this meeting. So we have that as one of the items for today. And the second item that I think we need to deal with is the questions for tomorrow. I've included that as for our deliberations today. So that we get a sense of how you'd want the whole process to be run tomorrow. As you know, it's open to the public. So let me ask Mr. Romano to flight the agenda for today. Of course, he doesn't have this addition that I'm making, the questions, on the questions. I want that be included so that we formalize that process. Mr. Romano, can you flight the agenda, please, for today? Right. So this is the agenda I'm proposing. We'll deal with the apologies. So once we're done with that, we'll then look at the results of suitability screening and committee discussion on public interviews. So I want to separate the screening results as well as the discussion on the questions. I think he has done that. He's actually made it a separate item so that the second part of the meeting is closed to the public. I don't want the public to I consider the questions that part confidential for now until tomorrow. But the results of suitability are fine, are public process. So the three reports I've speak to that part, the first part. So that's the thing. And I also asked Ramani to be ready with the letter we received from one of the nominees was raising some concerns about the process. And so maybe let's record that as correspondence. I don't know where we fit it, that correspondence, whether it's in an open meeting or closed meeting, or open session or closed session. But let me leave it at that for now. On the second part of the questions, but let's deal with the second part of in the closed session that deals with the questions. Let's deal with it in the closed session. And can I get your comment on the agenda, colleagues, before and adopt it before we start the meeting? Let me just check if I will be able to see hands. Yes. Okay. Honorable Janji.
No, good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair, and good morning to colleagues and everybody in the meeting. Yes, Chair, I think I want to support the agenda, the item being the screening, followed by correspondence. I would suggest that depending on how you think about it, that maybe tomorrow morning at the venue, we have 15 minutes before our time to talk about the issue of the questions and not discuss them today and have a sleepover over them. That would be my suggestion, that that closed session, we do it there physically in the venue with all of us in one room. I'm more comfortable with that than doing it today in a closed session on virtual. That's my only area that I wanted to get into, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Janji. I see the hand of Honorable Bredenbach, and then Mananiso after Bredenbach.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to everybody. I second the proposal of Mr. Janki.
Thank you. Honorable Mananiso, do you have a different view?
No, thank you, Chair. I'm actually covered. I don't have any dissenting view. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, all right, let's deal with that in the closed session.
Chair,
yes, sorry. Let me just check.
as black as I am.
Black as you are. I don't see the black here. Yes,
Yes, no, thank you, Chair. It's just a question of clarity on the questions themselves. I thought that, and you can clarify me, Chair, I thought that we were going to discuss the process of asking questions, how we take turns and all that, instead of asking the actual question that we will be asking to the participants. And if the issue is the process of how we're going to go about asking questions, I don't know if it's a train smash to have that discussion today. as opposed to tomorrow, because if you're going to deliberate tomorrow, it's a short day. You are starting at 9, and the agenda is actually starting at 9 for the interviews themselves and not for deliberations by the committee. So I don't know what is the transmesh in having that process outlined today, and just guidance on how the day is going to go about when we take turns in asking questions. We did the same in the section 194 committee when we were taking questions, and we had that deliberation prior to the actual day. So I don't know maybe you can clarify me, what exactly do you mean by questions? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. Just check if there's... Okay, I don't see any other hand. Thanks, Honorable. No, colleagues, I'm persuaded to think that we also need to discuss how we'll deal with the process, even if it is not the questions themselves. I think that so can we just deal with it in the closed session, please? That part is not going to be a long part. It's about 10 to 20 to 30 minutes. Agreed?
Seconded, Chair.
All right. Let's get the report of the results of the suitability screening, and then we'll look at how the whole process tomorrow will unfold in the next session. All right, let's deal with the correspondence first. So apologies, Mr. Swart and the Advocate Gondwe. Those are the two apologies we are presenting. Any other apology, colleagues? All right. It doesn't look like there's any other apology. All right. So that takes care of the apologies and correspondence. Please, can you flight the correspondence and you advise me how we should deal with it? Ramano, are you? Okay. Please read the correspondence, Mr. Ramano, for the record.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members. The letter is from one of the nominated people, Mr. Macbeth Ngongwane. And then it's about the unfair shortlisting process for public protector. It says, we refer to the Moneyware publication dated 30th July 2023, wherein 8 shortlisted candidates were published. I was the candidate nominated for the position of public protector. I do not believe that the process that was followed in shortlisting was transparent. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa requires that all process embarked on by the state must be rational, transparent, effective, accountable, and responsive. Therefore, a high degree of care is required in a form of due process. I was nominated, and which nomination was accepted. However, it is not my inclination that after my nomination, I am entitled to be shortlisted for the process that is underway. Rather, I'm concerned at the manner in which the whole process of shortlisting played out in the public platform. Prima facie and based on the engagement of parliamentarians, credence is not given that the process was transparent, fair, and open. It appears further that MPs were ticking the boxes of only filling 8 candidates. I accept that about 38 candidates were nominated, and therefore it was a mammoth task to run all interviews of 38 people, looking at the constraints of time for the appointment of the public protector in October 2023. Parliament has absolute duty to run a process that is scandal-free, transparent, and fair to all. At the end of the day, the public must have faith in the process and that no potential candidates was left out due to a process that appears to have been rushed. I picked up from the committee discussion at 36 of the Parliament TV that they were merely taking up the boxes and there was no intentions of vociferously engaging with the questionnaire submitted by candidates. There is no reason why we have completed such questionnaires and volunteer so much information in the committee which comes with a fixed number of candidates that they believe will be public protected. The question that stands out is what instrument or criteria used to fix the shortlisted candidates to only 8? Secondly, which instrument or criteria used to single out other candidates without following the necessary audits? Why candidates were not given an opportunity to comment on any adverse comments made in deliberation by the committee before a final decision was made? I'm persuaded to say from 36 minutes of the committee deliberations, honorable members of parliament sadly failed to apply their minds in engaging the questionnaires thoroughly. I therefore challenge the process because of the obvious lack of transparency and rationality. I therefore propose that the process of shortlisting must start de novo and committee members are given an opportunity to seriously engage to the questionnaire. The committee is therefore given until 3rd of August 2023 with a proper directive on whether proper engagement is going to be considered by the committee or not. I reserve my rights in case no reasonable response is received by my officer. Yours faithfully, Macbeth Ngongwa.
Thank you very much. We received I received it on the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. On the 4th, I asked Mr. Ramanu to acknowledge receipt and indicate that the matter will be tabled at the next committee meeting, to which he did. So I don't know how you want us to deal with this one, or we simply just note it for now because it doesn't affect the process, and then deal with it at the end of the process. Can I seek your guidance? Yes, and there is it. Nkosi Dubezi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and greetings to all my colleagues. I just want to ask you, Chair, to clear me if you say, are we dealing with it now or later after the process? What do you mean? Do you mean after we have done the interviews or just today after we have finalized other items?
I was thinking after we have done the interviews during the deliberation stage. I don't know, but I'm asking for your guidance, Ndabezitha. You may guide us on this if you have a proposal. I was
thinking that maybe we deal with it before we start the process. If the members allow, maybe today, so that we dispose of it and we know where we stand. By the time we start the actual process, we don't have anything that seems to be hanging around the proposal. This seeks to discredit the whole process that we've started already. So I think it's important to address it. Thanks.
Thank you. And any other comment on this one? Honorable Mawete?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think we can deal with it because he or she has got specific questions that he has asked. I mean, what was the process? I'm sure we can detail what process was followed. And other questions. Maybe if Vonani can flight that thing, then we see, and then we then send that correspondence to the relevant department. So we deliberate on it. And if it's anything beyond our control, like the question that stands is, what instrument or criteria used to fix the shortlist? Which instrument or criteria used to single out other candidates? Chair, I think we have this, because remember in the initial meetings, I also asked the question of what criteria are we going to use so that we avoid such issues. And I think there was a criteria that was set. So if we have all these instruments or criteria, then we can respond to the letter. I don't think we should wait, because what if he's correct in that we use the wrong criteria to throw him out? But also, what if he's wrong? We use the right one to exclude it or to eliminate him. So we should, at the tip of our hands, really have responses to this. And I don't think we should wait any longer, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comment, colleagues? Honorable Klape.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think honorable members are right that we had criteria, and this is something that we can respond to. Honorable members will remember that we said over and above the documents that were before us, that was the CV, the questionnaire, the Constitution, the PP Act, and the public comments. We had a criteria of character, of skill, and there was experience, something like that. So those are the things that where I'm seated, our legal team, the Secretariat, could have responded to and everything. But in the main, Chair, the committee or the panel in any given instance has got the right to set a criteria when you do interviews. So it can never be an issue that something is right or wrong. As long as something is done through a labor law-related kind of thing like we did. And I think for a fact that this nominee also indicate that he also doesn't say he was inclined sort of to be considered, but he wanted clarity. Let's give him clarity and continue with the job at hand. Thanks.
Thank you. We seem to be in agreement with the earlier speakers. Let me take Honorable Hendricks and then Honorable Janji as the last person on this item. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yes, I agree that there was criteria, and those criteria was applied during the shortlisting process. So those criteria may have to be resent to the person that is raising these issues. I also want to wear my hat as a previous Secretary General of a trade union. What we have before us, Mr. Chairman, is an allegation that we were procedurally unfair, and this unfairness amounts to what some cases that I've been involved in was called an unfair dismissal, or amounts to an unfair dismissal. Now, I know that he is not in our employment, and the wording may sound strange, but from my experience, the allegation is that we as an employer have committed an unfair dismissal. So I thought I would advise the committee that what could possibly happen is an application to the CCMA for for compensation or something else. So that looks to be the likely consequences if the writer is not satisfied with our explanation. But I feel it's important that we rescind the criteria that was used by all honorable members, and that those were the inherent requirements of the job, and that we accordingly made our decisions with regard to the inherent requirements of the position and the criteria that helped us to identify the inherent requirements. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Janji, do you still have, is your hand still up? Because it looks as though we are agreeing that we'll write back to Mr. Mr. Tungwane or Ms. Tungwane.
Yes.
Yes, it's Mr. Yes. And responding because the information, we do have it. But I thought consistent with us being transparent, we must bring this matter up here so that you are aware that there was this concern and that this is how we are dealing with it. So, but there was a question why candidates were not given an opportunity to comment on any adverse comments made in deliberations by the committee before a final decision. I think the answer was that there were no adverse comments made on any candidate in the meeting we had. And the meeting was, the process was transparent, as colleagues are saying it. I see Honorable Nkosi's hand, yes. But before that, let me just check. Let me check if Janji still has his, still wants to have his say. Honorable Janji.
No, thank you, Chair. The issues I wanted to raise, I am pleasantly covered by Honorable Mautwe. She really dealt with them, so I'm pleased. I won't spoil her contribution.
Thank you very much, Honorable Janji. The visitor, Honorable Nkosi.
Yes, just one point, Chair, that I think it's important to be included there is the fact that if I were to use the term scoring, the candidates that finally made to the top 8 were the one that received the most recommendations from members having considered their CVs and all that. So that is very important to say over and above the criteria, they scored more than others. Thank you.
Correct. Colleagues, thank you very much. That's the approach we'll follow when we write back to the candidate, as the nominee, as it were. Colleagues, I think that disposes of this item. Thank you very much for your guidance. Let me now move to the next item, that is the reports from the 3 agencies that were appointed to attend to the screening process. Their results are available. I will ask Advocate Ramano to deal with all 3 intents.
Chair, this one is from the SSA, wherein they indicated that they did the screening on all 8 candidates. 2.1, it indicates that the outcome of the investigation confirmed that the above mentioned candidates are all South African citizens. None of them is having a dual citizenship. It is also important to note that there's no defaults registered against any of their names. No security concerns came to light during the screening process. And then point number 3 just indicates that the investigation results are deemed personnel suitability checks, as once a fortunate candidate is appointed, then SSA will fulfill its statutory counterintelligence mandate, which is to conduct a fully fledged security vetting. And then they also indicate that the outcomes are based on information currently available to the State Security Agency's domestic branch. So all in all, it indicates that all 8 candidates have been cleared so far.
Thank you very much. Move to the second report.
The second one is from subs. Oh no, actually, I put in the wrong one. Chair, the second one is from subs, and they are all the same. I'm just sharing just one, that is the candidate here. It's Professor Musinyane. The results there, it shows that no illicit activity was identified against him.
I thought there was a summary report on all of them.
This one, okay, let me just get that. No, actually, Chair, this one, they don't, there's no summary. They just give me one by one. So I don't know if you want me to project each and every one of them, but the long and short of it is that no illicit activities were identified against any of the candidates.
Okay, maybe that is the report. Can I read it? Maybe the report reads as follows from the SAPS. Crime intelligence. You sent me one on Friday last week. Just check correspondence on Friday last week.
Oh yes, Chair, yeah, you are right. You know, I think I misplaced that one. Okay. Okay, maybe just to indicate, Chair, maybe
as you do it, please fly past the ID numbers if you get to them.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just to say that, you know, so that members are not surprised why it is directed to the manager, Parliamentary Protection Service. That is how we work internally. We get this necessary information, go via our parliamentary service, and then they liaise with subs and relevant institutions.
So don't go to the IDs, just go down. So this is the relevant section. Please read.
It says that the Division Crime Intelligence within the subs coordinated the submission of fingerprints of shortlisted candidates for the position of public protector with the Criminal Records Center of the subs for criminal record screening. According to feedback received from the Criminal Records Center of 16 August 2023, no illicit activities were identified in the criminal record system for the following shortlisted candidates.
Okay,
and
so
then
he lists all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, all 8.
All
right?
8, yeah.
All right. So we can then withdraw that. Let me check if and then let's go to the HR report on the qualification verification.
Okay. Just give me a minute, sir. Oh, actually,
Fortunately, it's unavoidable to skip the ID.
let me just quickly delete those.
Colleagues were trying to
and for some reason, I don't know whether the document is, because I can't delete
the CVs.
I can't delete the ID number.
Just read without beaming it. I'm sure colleagues will. They have that report before them. Please just read.
Oh, okay, Chair. The first candidate here, we have got Advocate Zaleka, and the qualification verified was LLM. Verification was completed and it was positive. Second candidate is Advocate Oliver Josie, LLM, verified, completed, and positive. Then we've got Magistrate Joanna Kwenadili Dwava. The qualification is LFGUM, completed and positive. Ms. Mubango Antoinette Lukaimane, LLM, verified, completed, and positive. Advocate Lynette Marais, BA Law, verified, completed, and positive. Prof. Musinyane, LLM, verified, completed, and positive. Advocate Kwenansewa, LLB, verified, completed, and positive. Advocate Tipanyane, LLM, verified, completed, and positive. So all in all, HR was able to successfully and positively verify the qualifications submitted. That's the report, Chair.
Thank you. HR says we only check the highest qualification unless yes. If one has 2 masters, we'll check the latest or most relevant to the post. That was the comment from the HR colleagues. Right. I now open the platform for comments, colleagues. Are there any comments on the results of the screening process? Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Hendricks.
No, Chair, actually, I think Honorable Hendricks was kicked off the system.
Was kicked out. All right. Colleagues, are there any comments on this? So the reports came positive on all of them, and the qualifications were in relation to the highest qualifications or those that are relevant to the posts in question. All right. It means, is this an indication that we can move forward? Okay, Honorable Makonisha.
No, Chair, I think we are satisfied, except just one question. There is an advocate, as Mr. Ramano was reading the report, that they have verified the PA law. So I would want to know if they have verified the LLB, because we can't practice with the PA law. So I would have supposed that the qualification to be verified should have been the LLB, whether it was verified. You are muted, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Romano. Let me just, who was that candidate? Let me just go back to it. That came with LLB. All right. Oh, candidate number 5, eh? His highest qualification is LLB, obtained in 1996. Of course, that was not verified according to this report. And is an advocate. All right, let's accept that. I don't know if, but let me hear what Honorable Brendan Buck has to say on this one.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I agree with the Honorable Magwanishe. The qualification that must be verified is the LLB, and I would be very uncomfortable if it wasn't. So
Chair?
it must absolutely be done.
Yes.
Chairperson, maybe just to come in there, I think maybe there's probably an error on that report, because I've just quickly checked here, and this is the outcome of the investigation. It indicates that the Bachelor of Laws from the University of the Western Cape was awarded in 1997.
Oh, okay.
So maybe the Word document there shouldn't have referred to the BA law.
But who prepared the summary?
The summary, I got it from HR.
Is the HR in the meeting?
Yes, Chair, they should be representative.
Can we get them to comment on this? The discrepancy between the summary now and the actual report.
Honorable Chair, yes, my name is Fiona Southwood. I'm a manager in HR. My team did the verification of the qualifications through our service provider. And yes, apologies for the error on the summary. We will rectify it and resubmit to the committee. Apologies for that. But the verification is as Mr. Vahani has read it through. Thank you.
Must I take it that the error is in relation to this name only and not any other name?
Yes, Chair.
All right. I take your word for it. All right, colleagues, this is where it is. I guess there are no further comments on this. And thank you very much, Mr. Romano, for this briefing. I think the team did a sterling job, and that they were able to deliver the results on time. I think we must commend them. And so that then takes us to the next meeting to then deal with the process tomorrow without focused dealing with the questions necessarily. Can you just present the program over the last 2 days so that the colleagues have a picture on how the 2 days would unfold? Yes, Honorable Mote?
No, thanks, Chair. I thought that over and above the reports, perhaps you can open an opportunity for us to have our bite as well. Remember that the public had a bite on the candidates, and so is the SSA and SABS, but as the committee members, we have not had a chance to also reflect. So I'm not sure if you're going to allow that, Chair. I would humbly request that you allow us to have a bite as well.
Well, look, that was not a part of the meeting, Honorable Moedo. The colleagues will have the bite when the candidates are before us. Of course, the issue of qualifications will still come up when you interview them. So can't we leave that to that time? For now, we're receiving the report from the 3 agencies that you had actually asked me to commission. The report has just been presented, and it's negative on all of them. Well, it's positive on all of them. So maybe let's then leave the rest to the time when the candidate is before us. If there's any concern or query regarding the qualification, that would be presented to him or her and be given the opportunity to comment on whatever concerns members may have. I thought that is the process, Honorable Mawete. Are you disagreeable with that?
I want to persuade you, Chair, because we are politicians seated here and we are dealing with a political process. Although it's got some element of, other issues, of labor issues. But I thought that as politicians, we can also have a bite just over and beyond just the qualifications, because this is not it's not a corporate exercise, it's a political exercise that we're engaged in, and it must always be guided by politics. So if you give us a bite, so that we don't contaminate the process of interviews by bringing in issues that might not be relevant at that time. But I humbly request, Chair, that we look at it just to have I don't think it will. We still have a bit of time. We're doing very well. It's still not even we're chairing this very well. So if you give us just an opportunity, I promise you, I won't take 3 minutes of your time to raise my issues.
Okay. I don't know what you're going to say. Let me hear you, what you want to say.
Okay, no, thank you, Chair. So, Chair, we live in a political world, and the political events of the past 5 years have severely impacted the office of the PP, Chair. The mudslinging between some members of the governing party, the office of the PP, some individuals in the financial sector and the South African Reserve Bank has truly undermined the constitutional mandate of this august office. What's even more saddening, Chair, is that this comes after we as the EFF fought diligently for the powers of the remedial actions of the PP to be recognized as binding, akin to a court judgment. Chair, the ruling party had previously regarded this pivotal institution designed to protect the public as merely an advisory body whose remedial actions weren't actually binding. So we took the matter to the Constitutional Court, which to affirm the powers and independence of the PP. With these interviews that are upcoming from tomorrow, we have the chance to appoint someone who can rejuvenate the institution, giving it a fresh start. So for this reason, Chair, we question the suitability of the current Deputy Public Protector, Advocate Alega, who has been acting in the position of the PP for some time. Having seen her act in this role for the past 12 months, being a member of the Section 194 Committee handling the impeachment of the current, many would concur that she's unlikely to rejuvenate.
Point of order, Chair. Honorable yes, you are completely out of order. You're completely
Chair, I've not finished my point. Can you just allow me to?
No, you're completely out of order. We've dealt with that item. I thought you wanted to comment on the technical, on the screening process that was largely technical. And you said you want to bring up a political element. and there's no space for that. And I gave you the benefit of the doubt because when I said I wanted to stop you, I did not know what you wanted to say. But now that I know what you are saying, can we leave that to the process that is going to run over the next 2 days? Honorable Janji, your hand is up, and I'll come to. No, there's a point of order that was raised by Honorable Risoma, and then I'll come to Janji, and then hear what he has to say too.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and colleagues, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to believe that you have covered me because I didn't thought that we are dealing with the individual candidate. We're dealing with the technical issues as you directed us. The other issues can be debated when we've got time, in the right space, in the right agenda. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Janji.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your intervention. Firstly, I raised my hand and I was asking that I be noted to speak, having heard Honorable Mautwe. I think you have attended to my concern, Chair, but I just want to add one or two things. I think we must respect Honorable Mautwe's strong views that she is carrying, but we must indicate to her, Chair, that from tomorrow and Thursday, this team will have two opportunities. If there's any issue you want to raise with a particular candidate, we have two opportunities. It will be the interviews, the one-on-one with that candidate, and we're going to have deliberations as the committee. And so those opportunities are afforded to us, and you can raise anything in relation to their competence and everything else. I think tomorrow is the scene and Thursday for that. Today, the issues that she's raising do not belong here today. But the last point I want to make, Chair, is that I want us to be very cautious as we get into these interviews, that we are not seen as having any predetermined outcome on any particular candidate. I have been worried even when we did the shortlisting that you had a particular organization indicating that we'll shortlist this one, we don't want that one. And you can't continue with that because we must protect this process so that there's nothing that indicates that you had a prior decision on a particular candidate when the candidate are here to perform and be interviewed. We've set criteria, we've done everything else. We can't have any other parallel processes beyond what we have already put in place. So if there's anything we want to raise, it must be within those processes. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. The objection is sustained. Thank you very much. My apologies, Honorable Mowetwe. We did not intend to shut you out, but that time is coming over the next 2 days.
Chair, with the greatest respect, please, I was just finishing. It's just one line that is left. I hear my colleagues. No, I've deliberated my point. I've made it crystal clear where I was going. But what I want to end with, Chair, and I'm going to hold my peace, is that we've got the responsibility, all of us seated here, to give both the office of the PP and the public a chance to trust in this institution. At the moment, Chair, we do know that there's so much mistrust for this office. And it's because of the sequence of events that have just happened. And I'm not saying, Chair, I'm finishing now. And I'm not saying that we should not continue, but all I'm saying is we have a duty. Of course, we come from different political parties. We carry the mandate of the political parties, but we have to highlight these issues, that we're going into this process with such such candidate.
But you were closing, can you stick to your undertaking? That was your last thing you wanted to say. I think you have said it. Can we move to the next item, please?
I agree, Chair. I agree we're dealing with suitability of the candidate, so I had to bring this.
No. You will still test the suitability over the next 2 days.
Yes.
This is a technical process. We are yet to deal with it. The candidates will be before us for us to test their suitability to complete the whole process. Can we close this item? And
I'm with you, Honorable Chair. I'm 100% with you. And therefore, in conclusion, we are saying, can the acting PP step aside out of this process so that we deal with candidates that are credible, that don't have any cloud hanging?
So I don't want
membership.
I don't want to what do you call this? Yes, I think the mic has been, yeah. All right, colleagues, can we move to the next item? We must not belabor the point. Right, the next item that you had asked us to look at is how the 2 days will unfold in terms of timing and all that. I don't think we must leave that piece to tomorrow. It will be too tight for us to make any planning possible. Can you just flight what we are presenting so that colleagues have an idea? Colleagues, I don't want us to leave this to tomorrow so that our plan is accordingly. So 2 days is over. This 2 days is over. I mean, the interviews are over 2 days, starting from tomorrow. We've allocated to take two candidates before lunch and 2 candidates after lunch. We've allocated 1.5 hours per candidate. And we hope that will then take us till 4 o'clock. And so we start with the first candidate, Advocate Tseliso Chipanyani, and then Advocate Kwena Thomas Tsewa. And then after lunch, it's Advocate Oliver Josie and Advocate Lynette Mare. Those are the 4 candidates for the first day. Let's go to the second day. Second day, it's Miss Muvango Lukaimani and Miss Gwenati Lidwaba before lunch. And after lunch is Professor Musinyani and Advocate Kolega Galega. And so this is the program for the next 2 days. And we have allocated, we said, let me just check, because we want to listen to the colleagues colleagues, I just want to go to my report here. We think we should request a candidate for 5 minutes to tell us more about just to give her own presentation, opening remarks. And then that will be followed by the questions, but we'll deal with the questions tomorrow. I'm just thinking about the structure now of the interviews tomorrow. Besides the actual questions, must we allow the candidates 5 minutes to present, 5 to 10 minutes to present, and then followed by the questions? How do you want us to deal with that aspect? Or we simply just ask questions, start with the questions?
Chair.
Yes, Maode.
No, thanks. I get it. This is not the first time we are conducting interviews of the PP. So perhaps we could go back to history to check what process was followed. Maybe Parliament has got a set process that was followed that we might want to review and see if it's still applicable. And then we take it from there. I don't think we should start developing our own process from the scratch when there's probably something that worked in the past. And if it worked, there's no need for us to fix something that worked. If it didn't work, then we can also be guided. We're new in this Parliament thing, but maybe some of you will advocate Magwanisha, they were here before. They can then share information on how the process normally was conducted in the past, and then we can follow it there if it's still suitable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Hon, thank you very much, Maode.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good morning to you and all colleagues. Chair, I think it's good to give every candidate a limited amount of time to present whatever they would want to present in terms of why they're the best candidate. But then in terms of questions, and the Honourable Mahutwe just now referred to it, I think there's certain dangers we must try and steer clear from and take decisions around this already. The first is that if there is not proper time management, we of course will run over. And then that may lead to a situation where some candidates will have longer interviews than others, which is, I believe, not ideal. So I think one of the options available to us is to determine or allocate or divide the amount of time available for interaction through questions between the members, and then from your side strictly manage that so that members do not go over time. And then, of course, one of the other issues that's also sometimes a bit of an issue is who goes first and who's last, and maybe a rotational system around that could also assist the process. But specifically referring back to the previous round in 2016, I think there were some interviews that were much longer than others. There's also the danger that the first ones you overrun in terms of time management, and then to make up maybe the one who appear at the end of the day, there is a tendency to then not spend as much time on that candidate. So my suggestion would be that in terms of a proper time management, we decide on a 5-minute presentation, and that we then, depending on the number of members who indicate that they would want engagements on every candidate, there's a fixed time allocation which you as the chair must then manage in order to structure the interview process properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that guidance, Honorable Lesoma, Bredenberg, and then Janchi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I will suggest that probably so that we know what we are discussing in terms of the interview stages and processes. You guide us and we conclude one item and be fair with it and then move to the next one. That would be my request. Secondly, Chair, I will say that in terms of the question that you asked to directly respond to, noting what Honorable Mautwe says, but I think it will be, I will align myself with Honorable Horn in terms of that. Let's give each candidate 5 minutes to summative. They might have had other areas or the highlights in their area of professionality that they would not have necessarily covered on their CVs. That's one. Two, Chair, the other point that I would like to talk to is the time allocation. Of course, in terms of the program that has been circulated and articulated by you earlier on, there is time allocation, and we think that we will just make a plea to your good self that we are straight on time. As the candidate walk in, she must or he must be advised how much time do we have with her, without also not being accommodative for the person to conclude his or her thought on the question that would have been posed. But also the other fresh point is related to that from my side, Chair, is that any member of the panel also should be on a rotational cases where it's applicable, using your own discretion. We must be allowed to do follow-ups, because sometimes as candidates respond, they are then give us just to crop or tempt us to ask for follow-up questions, which are critical for us when we conclude and make a final determination. Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sama, Honorable President Beth, and Honorable Johnson. In that order.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, I'm covered by Honorable Horn. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Johnson.
Honorable Chair, just without going back to the issues that have been raised by other members, just so that we understand, there's a particular ceiling that has been set, which is going to influence what we do. The ceiling is 1.5 hours. And if you divide that in terms of 11 members, it means each member has about 8 minutes to interact with the candidate. So that's set. That excludes that 5 minutes before that candidate. So we're not including that 5 minutes of a candidate, and perhaps even at the end when you are asking as a chair, that candidate, what is your last word? So we would not be able to include that time in the 1.5 hours. It does suggest that you might need to be aware that we would already go beyond 1.5 hours in relation to that. Because I've just worked it out, that's what it comes to. And I would suggest that because maybe we might not take each member the 8 minutes. I certainly know, Chair, that from tomorrow and Thursday, I'm not going to leave out any applicant not asking any questions. I'm clear about that. And maybe we also need to agree that there's cross sharing of the time. So if this member just used 3 minutes, you can also ensure that the other members, it doesn't even need to be along party lines. It can be just across members. The last point I wanted to make, the rotation might not work, Chair, and we'll determine that tomorrow. Because tomorrow when we deal with questions, there's going to be a flow of how you're going to deal with these questions. So maybe a certain question, what needs to follow, it's in terms of what the question would be, a rotation might mess up the kind of momentum and flow of how you interact with that. So I must be guided tomorrow about the nature of the questions, and then you determine, because it might be that the questions I would choose are necessarily more important to be asked at the beginning or perhaps at the end. So you can't just do rotation willy-nilly without messing up the flow and momentum of the interview. So I wouldn't want to say let's agree on rotation. Let's look at the nature of the questions tomorrow and see how all of those questions are connecting and interlinking. This is an interview. You don't want the last question because of rotation. It's about somebody telling us your background when other things have been raised before. So I just want to raise those issues, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see Honorable Tlape's hand. Honorable Tlape.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I agree on, they usually call it an icebreaker. If we have to have a 5 minutes presentation, probably if we agree on that, it has to be part of the questions we will hear tomorrow. What kind of presentation will that be? But my issue is on what Honorable Janji has just indicated of a rotation that might mess up the process. That if we have to be clear tomorrow, Chair, or now, or how do we deal with issues of your follow-up questions? If, for an example, I'm asking a question and 11 members, 10 members also wants to do follow-up questions, what kind of time will we have to allow now their substantive questions to be asked. So it would be something that needs to be managed as to who really does a follow-up. Am I allowed? I have this, maybe a one chance to do a follow-up to get the satisfactory response that I want as a member who asks that substantive questions, so that we don't open it up so much that at the end of the day, it's only one member or two members who ask their substantive questions, and all of us wanted to do. It triggered follow-ups from all of us, and then 1 hour, 30 minutes is gone. So it's something that we would need to manage. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we agree, one, that each candidate will have 5 minutes to give us his or her opening remarks, and we'll try to guide the candidate what exactly are we looking at in that respect. Because we want to understand his or her value system, experience in actually championing constitutional values, and dealing with issues of maladministration and other malfeasance in the administration. And then 2, we limit it to the permanent members. We have 11 members. It's a committee of 11. They are alternates. So it means that the alternates will not be participating. If we allow alternates to participate, then we'll exceed the time allocated for each candidate, and we might not finish the interviews over the period of 2 days. I think I get a sense that we're agreeing on that one. And then thirdly, that there will be follow-up questions, but the follow-up questions will be tightly managed. And should the need arise, but let's agree that the follow-up questions, the follow-up would be limited to just one question. If you have a follow-up question, maybe when your time has passed, we'll limit it to just one follow-up. And if you think, addressing the point that Janji raised, that we must not be strict in terms of scheduling when it's your time to raise the question. If you think that your questions are relevant now, and maybe you should indicate that, and then forfeit your scheduled time, so that we don't wait for that time when they are relevant now, your questions. I thought Janji was saying that, and colleagues, do we agree on those things? I think I've covered most of the things that you were saying, unless I've missed one or two things. Honorable Klapper, you still want to have a say? Okay.
No, Chair. Sorry.
Okay. No, Janji?
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, if we're given 8 minutes or 10 minutes each member, I would want to confine follow-ups within my time, because the moment you allow it to be out of that, you must expect that you're going to have 11 follow-ups, each member wanting to make a follow-up on the issue. If I'm given 8 minutes or 10 minutes, I do my follow-ups in my time. I'm managing my 8 minutes and 10 minutes, including with follow-ups. So I wouldn't want us to even open that gate of follow-ups, because it's easily abusable. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Colleagues, do we agree that each person will have 8 minutes? Mr. Hendricks?
Yeah, I just want to understand, Mr. Chairman, that we have 14 political parties in Parliament. So that means some political parties won't have an opportunity to put any questions So I just want clarity on how you're going to deal with that. Thank you.
Well, it's exactly the point I made that it's a committee of 11, but they are alternates, and it takes us to 24. So that if we allocate 8 minutes per person, then it's fine if it is for the permanent members, but if it's everybody, then it becomes a challenge. Unless the parties that have alternates work it amongst themselves, how they will utilize the time allocated to a main member. Maybe a main member may say, look, I'm not going to take the question on this one. I'll let my alternate to take the question. And so that's what we're trying to manage at this point in time. And thank you very much, Ms. Hendricks, for raising this point. And Inkosi Buthelezi?
Thank you, Chair.
Has been up.
Oh, yes. Your hand? No, it's not up, Honorable Mowedu. Please.
You're wearing spectacles, Chair. That is up.
Okay, I'll come back to, but there's also Lesoma. There's also this person, I don't know, it's Portfolio Committee on Justice.
Yes, Chair.
Who's this Portfolio Committee on Justice?
Yes, Chair. It's here, Chair. I'm one of the committee secretaries working with Mr. Rahman. I wanted to quickly make a proposal, Chair.
But I thought the Chair had recognized me.
And yes.
I'm not sure.
Okay, the visit will come back to you. I first wanted to ask who this person is.
Thank you.
So it's a committee secretary. So I will come back to you after Inkosi has had his say. And the visit over to you, sir.
I was saying, Chair, in terms of the question that Honorable Hendricks asked, all parties are represented, some through, like us as smaller parties, we are represented through myself and I remember from Front Plus. So in case he's got some questions, he can actually forward those questions to us and then we'll be able to put them across as he did in terms of his nomination last time. So that's how it should work.
Okay. So, colleagues, Honor, thank you very much, Ndabezitha. And yes, let me ask you, is that Mr. Silas?
No, it's
No, I just want to hear what he has to say is from the staff. Yes, over to you.
Yes, Chair. Thanks, Chair. I would have just, Chair, quickly to assist in terms of the issue of managing time and follow-ups, Chair. Why don't just to put a proposal that says that members, instead of getting the 8 minutes, the committee allocates 5 minutes per member for the to and from questions. And then the remaining time will be allocated to members who are not part of the 11 members to do the follow-up times, Chair, when that particular process is finalized.
No, I would not have spoken after there is a proposal on the table from a member on the same issue.
Noted, Chair.
I would have not spoken. Because the honorable member says the principle is that they are permanent members and alternates. The alternates speak through the permanent members when it comes to asking questions. If there's no objection, that objection must come from the members themselves, or opposing view must come from the members themselves. So that's what we're trying to manage now. Honorable Soma.
Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think you have properly responded because I'm not reacting to the last speaker because I'll take it he didn't say anything. That's one. Two, Chair, I think Ndabezitha or Honorable Buthelezi have covered me in terms of responding to the question that was raised. Having said that, Chair, I will align myself with the notion that the full members of this committee, they do get their 8 minutes, but bear in mind that if they would have exhausted their 8 minutes per question, then they would not necessarily, without saying 5 minutes and 3 minutes, but we move from that so that also we manage ourselves in terms of our contributions. and engaging with the candidate. Thank you very much.
Okay. Right, colleagues. So we agreeing 5 minutes for a candidate.
You're
Oh,
looking
yes.
out.
Yes. Honorable Moetwe, my apologies, madam.
Okay, thank you, Chair. No, Chair, my question is just a clarity. So are you going to help us manage the 8 minutes, or you are going to hand it over to us to manage our own 8 minutes? And why I'm saying this is you can ask one question, then the candidate goes to Cape Town and Messina and Zimbabwe and come back to Johannesburg. And when you try to manage that, you are seen as if you are interrupting him or her or things like that. So how I know in the section 194, the chairperson normally assists us to manage properly our 8 minutes. So is it going to be fully our responsibility, or we are going to have some sort of responsibility, authority to guide us? Otherwise, we're going to ask one question and that will be it. Because that 8 minutes includes both the question and the response from the candidate. So it's very tricky how that is going to be managed. Thank you, Chair.
Imagine if I were to ask you more to manage your own 8 minutes. And another member doing the same. I think the meeting might get out of hand, because at that time you will not be focusing on the time. You will be focusing on the responses to your questions. So can you leave that to me to manage the 8 minutes? So the principle is that the 8 minutes, as you are proposing, Honorable Moti, includes the questions and the responses. I thought that was, otherwise, if it doesn't, then we'll take more than 1 hour per candidate. Do you agree with that, that it includes the questions and the responses? I think it's too much. 8 minutes is quite a long time. For a member with the candidate. And
I agree.
Yes, Chair. We agree, Chair, and Honorable Janji put it clearly that that should be within your allocated time. So we agree with that.
Thank you very much. So I think there's an agreement on that one.
I have my hand up, Chair.
Oh yes, Honorable Janji, my apologies. Honorable Janji?
No, Chair. I think let's just clarify it. I'm inclined towards Maoto in this sense. The chairperson gives you to say, member, you have got 8 minutes, it starts now. The chairperson comes in at the end of that 10 minutes, 8 minutes, and say your time has elapsed, member. But in between that, Honorable Maoto must be in a position to interact with this candidate, and because it's only Honorable Maoto or Janji who knows if this candidate is answering my question. So if there's that interaction, the chair doesn't get involved there. You get involved at the start and the beginning in terms of managing the 8 minutes, because I want to manage in a particular way. When I ask the questions, I am pressed for time and the responses are aligned to that. So I just wanted, if that's your understanding, Chair, you control the start and the end of that 8 minutes. But in the interactions must be between the member and that applicant. That's how I thought I understood Honorable Mautwe.
But I still play a referee role.
Yes, Chair.
I don't want to give you a blank check, colleagues. I don't want to give you a blank check. And I think I'm fine with this. Colleagues, is anyone who disagrees with this position, that each member will be given 8 minutes to interact with the candidate, and the chair would still be referring, playing a referee role, even in that time, but it will come at the end to say your time is up, and then move to the next candidate. I think that's what the colleagues are agreeing upon. And then that too, the process is limited to full members of the committee, and I then leave it to the the parties that represent other parties to manage how they deal with that aspect of ensuring that even the questions of their colleagues are also presented in the meeting. They may deal with it through saying, I'm giving up my time to so-and-so on this candidate and so on, or manage the 8 minutes to incorporate the questions from their own the parties that they represent in Parliament, so that we're then able to manage the time. So I thought that was the agreement. Ms. Sidstone, you wanted to say something?
No, Chair, I wanted to say I fully agree with Honorable Judge. Thank you. And yourself.
Yes, thank you. There was Sidstone wanted to say something from the administration. I thought it would be a technical point.
Yes, but I think I might be jumping the gun. I just wanted, and I don't want to discuss the questions, but I just wanted to make some sort of introductory kind of comments around the structure of the document that we've prepared. And I don't know if it's an appropriate time to start that, to say that now, or should I leave it till tomorrow morning? But I just wanted to say a couple of comments so that members weren't surprised when they saw the document, or they had an introduction to how to approach the document.
Yeah, yes, Mrs. Stone, they wanted us to discuss that in a closed session, and that closed session.
Sure. No, I was a bit concerned about it. I'm a little bit worried about tomorrow morning because of the time, but that's fine. We can deal with it tomorrow morning. That's fine.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Let's deal with it tomorrow morning, and I know we'll be pressed for time tomorrow because we wanted the process to start at 9:30. So at 9. So Lesome, still want to have a say? Thank you. Colleagues, I think we've covered at least the process for tomorrow. I'm not quite certain if I'm leaving anything. For now, the time is 11:27. And what time do you start? Can I end this item on saying we've agreed on those areas? Is there any dissenting view, colleagues? Any opposition to closing this item? No opposition. And tomorrow we said the program says we start with calling the candidate at 9. Do we want us to meet early before 9, or we want to meet at 9 and take up to 15 minutes and then call in the candidates after 15 minutes? Now that we have shifted the discussion on the questions to tomorrow, that's the reason why there was no provision for it on the agenda for tomorrow, or the program for tomorrow. So I want us to adjust the program and then inform the candidates accordingly. Because if you are told that your time starts at 9, we must tell you now that it's no longer 9 o'clock, it's 9:15. And the Honorable Hon?
Yes, Chair. Well, I think there's one of two options. Either we can start at 8:30, or we must agree that we will take only an half an hour lunch. And then, as you say, the more important part is to inform the first candidate then of the impact on their slot. Thanks.
Correct. Honorable Tape?
I propose we meet at 8:30, Chair.
8 is proposed and seconded. Any objection to us starting our meeting at 8:30? Lesoma, is your hand up?
No, Chair, I'm fine. It's just that then the transport also should be responding to the suggested time. I agree. Thank you.
No, I think the team would address that, because I guess there is separate transport arranged to move the colleagues around. So we start at 8:30, and then we deal with, and the meeting is a closed meeting, because we're dealing with the confidential part. Agreed? No objection. Colleagues, thank you very much. Colleagues, I'm happy now. We can then close this meeting. until we meet again tomorrow morning at 8:30.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
Can I just request? Can I just request that members who will need transport to Parliament tomorrow morning, if they could indicate to me so that we can make the necessary arrangements.
I thought that was part of the plan. If it was not part of the plan, okay. And all colleagues from the villages, maybe, okay, please, can you send a message out so that they respond to it?
Yes, the message is already out here, but it might be that maybe because they're in a meeting, they've not yet seen it, but
okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, it's fine. They are going to respond, but your transport, whatever arrangement you make, must make colleagues to be in Parliament by 8:30. So because at 8:30 we start the meeting. All right, colleagues, thank you very much. I thank you for your time until we meet again tomorrow. Thanks. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Recording stopped.